Okay, so we are going to continue our discussions about rote and meaningful learning. So, when we talk about like rote learning, we talk about like little or no relevant knowledge, no emotion commitment, poorly organized. That's why in a learning should be meaningful learning according to in this context Ausable, for example, because it has to be relevant, it has to be emotional commitment, it has to be conceptually clear for the learners. Can you see, for example, if you just like teach someone to read without explaining like this is A, this is B, and so forth, can you do that? No, you have to make like this will be relevant with the existing knowledge or from their prior knowledge. Okay, we move to concept of intelligence. In the concept of intelligence, a lot of experts try to define. um, some people call it as aptitude, or in bahasa we call it bakat. Bakat means it can be like knowledge, it can be not only the knowledge. So when we talk about like intelligence, there are two tools that mostly use or they are quite popular. The first one is modern language aptitude test by Gartner or Plimsoll language aptitude battery plop. Okay, this intelligence, for example, will be weakness if we try to keep like saying about aptitude, we keep saying about the intelligence, they are weakness. In terms of like learners can be successful for a multitude of reasons. For example, you tell students that you are not going to be successful because you don't have any aptitude. Kamu nggak punya bakat, kamu nggak akan sukses. Itu enggak ya, orang bisa sukses dari yang lain. Okay, many of them are related to motivations and determination than native ability. At first, probably in the past, I'm going to say when I was students in senior or junior high school, my language ability is totally bad at that time, so I don't have what's so called as aptitude in language. But because of my own determination, my own motivations, now I would say that yeah, not I'm not going to say that I don't have any aptitude anymore, but in a progress of having or trying to have aptitude. Okay. And then the test clearly bias both teacher and student. Test result dependency will affect their self-confidence. Okay, so a lot of people that test is not really good things to assess their intelligence. And then today, the search for variable factor that make up attitude is headed to broader spectrum, not only good score or not, like in the past, but also broader spectrum of learner characteristic. And then it brings to a question of intelligence and a foreign language learning. So because of that definition of intelligence, there are three experts try to define intelligence in different ways. So, for example, like Gartner kind of like balancing between the linguistics and the spatial, musical, logical, body, kinesthetic, inter and intrapersonal. So everything gak cuman knowledge yang berbau otak tapi juga skills. Gardner, maka Gardner itu sering dirujuk. And then Stanford tend to focus on the use of brain in my personal opinion. So it deals with the componential ability for analytical thinking or experiential ability, how to engage or interpersonal. Ada juga contextual, how to manipulate, how to understand the environment context. And then another definition of intelligence is also given by Goldman. Goldman focused on the emotions. Emotion is the highest level of hierarchy. Okay, so if you can control your emotion, it means that you have good intelligence. Okay, so which definition do you like most about intelligence? Okay, and then the relationship between intelligence and second language learning is that in the traditional definition, intelligence may have little to do with one's success as a second language learner. People with a high IQ have proven to be more successful in acquiring second language. That's the traditional. People say that high IQ equal with better learning in second language. Okay, but I don't know whether you agree or not. Okay, because for me, environment affects as well. And then Gardner attaches some important notion of intelligence Yeah, as mentioned before, musicals. Musical affects second language acquisition. They know how to pronounce body. For example, how to phonology or spatials. For example, comfortable in second language cultural environment. It means that, for example, you know a certain context on that. So the traditional view only IQ, but Gardner with the more modern involve that no, more than just IQ. It can be like musical, it can be like bodily kinesthetic, it can be like spatial intelligence. Okay, and then we are going to move about teaching method. In this context, we have designer method by Noonan. So basically, designer method deals with the recognized importance of both cognitive and affective factors in second language learning. So as a teacher, whether you are going to consider both of two aspects, two factor of your student learning, atau for example, love learn, community language learning. So for or we call it as CLL. Whether, for example, student and teacher join to facilitate learning. Okay, so it means that whatever they want to learn in a certain situations. The teacher, it is depending on the students, and it has a weakness that the teacher become too non-directive, nggak dikasih harus belajar ini, tapi kan dilempar kayak konteks community. Jadi belajarnya kayak nggak terarah. Tend to be like that. Suggestopedia, Lozanov, it tends to be using music. Okay, so sometimes it can be like very comfortable for the students. Sometimes probably some students probably music will disturb how they learn. For me, I'm not a person with Suggestopedia. If my teacher play music, I'm concentrating more on music rather than on learning. And then we have like silent way. It means that learning is facilitated if the learners discovered or created. It involves physical objects, and then it involves problem learning. It means that we let the students to kind of like focusing on problem solving. So the weakness of it is too distant, jaraknya terlalu jauh to encourage a communicative atmosphere, karena fokusnya adalah concentration, discovering something, like for example not for the communicative purposes but for the writing purposes, for example, atau yang memahami teks itu silent way ya. For example, you are giving your student text and then ask them to read and then they have to find mind idea and so forth, maka akan jauh dari communicative atmosphere. Atau for example, total physical response, another teaching method, total physical response by James Esser. So the student do the listening and acting, and then using imperative mode. So you ask the student to do this, and then they do it. They listen and they do it, and it is suitable for the beginner, okay, not for the advanced. And then the natural approach will be aimed at the goal basic of interpersonal communications, everyday language situations. So as a teacher, you provide comprehensible input. In this case, never translate from Bahasa into English. Okay? And in some point it is good, but in some point probably it cause difficulty for the student to understand because you are using the authentic material for the natural approach usually. Okay, and I think that's all for today. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.